What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Talk Punch. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening in on the audio version of the podcast, make sure you go ahead and smash that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, do all the stuff that everybody else tells you, because guess what? It actually is helpful. So after you do all that, make sure you come back here every Wednesday to see what we're talking about, kind of like this week's topic. Charlie and I love our movie scores, so we are doing our top 3 movie scores. This was a hard one to nail down. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out my number 3. By the way, I'm Brody, joined by
Charlie.
All right. Yeah, Charlie, I had a really hard time with this. I knew my number 1 and my number 2 right off the bat. Actually,
yeah,
I had my number 1 and then I had my number 2 and then I kind of swapped them. And then I was like, okay, what's my number 3? And boy, oh boy, I just kept going down the list. And I've got a whole list of honorable mentions. I'm still not sure if I'm convinced this is my number 3 favorite of all time, but I had to get something in there because I was like, okay, how do I put that one over that one? How do I not put that one on a list? How do I, And
sure.
the way that I built my list was I only had one composer for like one movie per composer. Otherwise, I'd have a list of John Williams.
Yeah, I similar approach. It was kind of fun, just getting to re-listen to some music. Getting digging back into some old, soundtracks that I haven't visited in a little while. Just kind of reminiscing. There was a time where I just listened to a lot of movie soundtracks in the car driving places. Great for contemplation and thought. Underscoring an important conversation with a friend. You got to have the right soundtrack. So it was kind of fun getting to live through that again.
We'd travel around in your car. We'd have the big CD book, big, huge, fat CD book, and you scroll through. What score are we gonna listen to?
Yeah.
They were all great. All great.
They were all great.
All right. How did you have anything special that you did with your list? Like I only had one composer at a time.
I didn't double down on composers, because I didn't want it to be too dominated by a single composer. But yeah, so I kind of mixed that up a little bit. And again, we always stress with these kind of favorites lists. I don't think these are the 3 most important or influential scores. I don't think these are the 3 best or greatest scores of all time, but just ones that I was particularly drawn to for various reasons that I will briefly explain as we get into the lists.
Yeah, no, that's an important thing. I thought about mentioning that, and then I forgot. These are our favorite, not the best ever, just to us. And really, for me, these are the ones that I typically go to listen to. If I'm working or something like that, and I just kind of want a score on, I go to these. All right. Well, should we get right into the list, Charlie?
We should. Good.
There we go. All right. Charlie, you are starting us out today with your number 3.
My number 3 is a wonderful James Horner score from the movie Braveheart, which was just a score that I absolutely fell in love with. It is a soundtrack that I wore out in my car. Beautiful, just really, haunting melodies. I love the way that he used various time appropriate instruments. The bagpipes have never sounded so good. Even the penny whistle, Brody. I went through a penny whistle phase where I had a penny whistle and I was rocking my penny whistle. And part of that was the inspiration from the penny whistle featured in the Braveheart soundtrack. You get folk harp, you get some wooden flutes in there, and all just kind of woven in beautifully. I like the way that he uses various themes and then brings them back. I think the underscoring is really good. All 3 movies that I picked, I think, are challenging movies to score. And there's kind of a shift that we'll talk about in my second movie, at least in there. But this is still back when really film composition was melody driven. Okay. So you had these different melodies that kind of represented different characters or these different moments. You know, you have the Braveheart theme that kind of comes in when William Wallace is giving his big rousing speech for the first time, and you hear this melody come in, and then that gets used again and recycled again, but like in different ways, changing different parts of the tone and stuff around. And James Horner's like a master with counterpoint, so some really good like melody on top of melody. You get this like contrapuntal sections where just you have these two distinct melodies kind of crossing over each other, where like these characters are in conflict and stuff like that. And so it just kind of helps like a lot of the juxtaposition of the film anyway. So beautiful score. Love me some Horner. Died in a plane crash and piloting a small aircraft. Look, don't do that. If you're out there and you're thinking, should I get a pilot's license and pilot a small plane? Don't do that, especially if you're a musician, because it is like you're just begging for it. And he was taken from us too soon. May he rest in peace. Don't become a small plane pilot.
Horner was actually on my number 3 for a while, and then I
which one did you have?
I couldn't decide which Lord of the Rings I wanted on there. They're all good. No?
Well, that's Howard Shore, but
Howard Shore. Oh no. That's
okay though. But Horner's got a lot of good ones. We'll talk Horner some other time. What's your number 3?
My number 3. Now again, this was so hard for me, and so I wound up with this because I play it in the car a lot because my kids really like it, and that's the Tron Legacy soundtrack. It's done by Daft Punk, right? It's a really neat soundtrack because they bring in a lot of strings and they bring in horns, and then they have this whole like layer of electronic because it's Daft Punk, so obviously. But it fits with this like digital world so well, and it's got this really cool just theme that goes through it. And it's for my list, one thing that I was really trying to focus on was like the soundtrack like in its entirety, instead of like picking like, oh well, I really like this theme, you know, and so I'll go in and I'll listen to like one track from it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great track. This isn't like top 3 themes, it's like scores. And so I'm trying to like, what can I sit down and just like listen to the whole thing really easily and just enjoy all of it, and this is one of those because it's such a neat sound, and I really enjoy it. And I was like, is it weird that I'm putting like a Daft Punk score on here amongst, and this was one of the ones that I'm like, oh, like there's so many like prolific, famous, like awesome guys that I'm not putting on here, but this is one that I do go to a lot, and my kids really like it, and I really like it, and I hear it. And even when we watch the movie or we're playing it on the speakers or something like that, I'm like, man, that's a real score. It's really cool. So I said, you know what? What the heck? I'm putting it as my number 3, Tron Legacy by Daft Punk.
Can I confess something to you, Brody? Of
course you can.
I have never seen this movie.
It's a good one. It's on Disney Plus. You should check it out.
Is Jeff Bridges? Is Jeff Bridges in this one? Does he reprise?
Yeah, he's back.
Is he the main character, or does he like have a kid or something?
No, it's his son. But Jeff Bridges is in the grid, and so you go to Jeff Bridges, and then there's this came out in like 2014, I think. Oh no, maybe 2010. I'm looking at the date on this poster. 2010, and so they do have a lot of like the digital stuff, and so for like the digital humans, there are times where you're like it could have been like a little bit better, but it was 2010, and also it's meant to be inside of a computer, so you can kind of forget. But it's a really neat movie. I really like it. Check out the score. It's a really neat one.
I will absolutely.
All right.
I cheated for my second one, Brody. I cheated.
Oh no! What'd you do? A trilogy? Cheated. Did you do a trilogy?
I did a trilogy. I absolutely cheated. But there is a distinct reason why I cheated. Okay, because all right, look, I went with the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, score. Excuse me, Howard Shore. Okay, look.
Yes, Howard Shore.
This isn't like you can't do your like like the Star Wars movies, they have like new elements along with recycled elements. There's like a lot of these like epic movies, but the payoff is like this is one story, right? It's one story told in 3 movies. It's like one book, right? Split apart. And the score is like a narrator and it's helping tell the story. And the payoffs come in the 3rd movie. There's themes like Sauron has this like dark, sinister 4-note theme, right? And then that's associated with him. And then it comes back again after he's defeated in the 3rd movie, and he just kind of sort of reuses that 4-note theme, but sets it with like a triumphant, joyous like arrangement. So like the theme pays off again. It's like it recycles from the 1st to the 3rd and throughout the 2nd. So a lot of these he does this masterfully. Like he's got these like little themes. He changes like the leading tone to create like a different moment at different different spots along the journey. So these like just these little tweaks and changes to these melodies along the way, along with some like standard themes that do get repeated. But this is so much music. It's an incredible amount of music.
It is
wall-to-wall music. It's not, like I was looking through things. I was like, oh, the Back to the Future. I like that theme. It's kind of cool. But you start really thinking about how much of that story is told with like, Earth Angel and like just rock and roll music, Power of Love, and the Johnny Be Good, all that stuff. This is wall-to-wall score.
It is
top to bottom, like 3.5 hours, 4 hours of score.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's so much, and like it's like 12 hours of like this is like an incredible musical feat just on itself, and the music's great, and he does a great job like bringing in like choirs and chorals and really kind of like doing some. This is the set of movies like so up until this point, and not that this movie changed it, but there was just a changing that was happening. This movie kind of represents it. The movie didn't. Lord of the Rings isn't Howard Shore, and the Lord of the Rings isn't responsible for the change, but so much of like these like Jerry Goldsmith and James Horner, John Williams, like Mancini, all these like Newman, all these great composers. Everything they did was like very melody driven. Characters had melodies. You walk away, the Godfather. You watch that. You walk away singing the Rocky. You walk away singing like this kind of theme, this really recognizable melodic theme, and then characters and other parts of the story are told with musical themes. It's like they're helping to tell the story. And then you get this like minimalistic style, which I think is really popular now, where it's a lot of drones, it's a lot of low brass going, brah, brah. You get these crescendos, these like just strings holding out one note, just kind of creating like a little tension. And this movie, so these movies have these really like wonderful melodies that are just completely recognizable, delightful to listen to. And then just like these minimalistic moments where it's more percussive, or it's more just like one singer singing something, or like one string sound, or one brass, little crescendos. And so it's a really interesting kind of like score to kind of study, because you get a lot of like the Marvel movies these days are very minimalistic. You get a lot of like just you get these like just kind of I apologize for my wants, but it's weird to do. I feel like we should just eschew the copyright thing and play actual music. Let me sing for you the entirety of the score. I'll do the full orchestration with my mouth. But anyway, so this is a really exciting one for me, and I think it's a cool like just a landmark achievement in film composition, and it kind of does represent, in my mind, like an era where things started to shift and changes. We don't really have those like rock star film composers anymore these days. So it's kind of fun to kind of revisit some of these. I really, this is great music. Anyway, I've said too much. On we go.
Yeah, this one sat at my number 3 for a while, and I was like, but I don't want to put the whole trilogy on, but which one do I choose? Do I choose like Fellowship because it kind of has all, sets all that stuff up, and it's got some great stuff. I like the Gollum stuff, and like, everybody has like a theme, and everybody like you can listen to the whole thing and like picture like all of it in your brain as it's coming. It's so good. And Howard Shore. It's even sitting in my notes right here. Gosh. Embarrassed. All right.
Don't be embarrassed. You're beautiful.
All right,
You're too pretty to be embarrassed. My
number 2, probably not too much of a surprise.
I should have known.
I love this. Now, the Hans Zimmer, I think, does a lot of the stuff that you were kind of describing. He does a lot of the drums. He does a lot of the tension type stuff, and I think he's pretty experimental. And this one was even more so. When I was reading that when Christopher Nolan brought him in, Christopher Nolan told him to just like reinvent the way that he's doing all of his scores. And he says he doesn't want all these drums, he doesn't want all these strings, just like start completely fresh and make up something totally new. And then instead of giving Hans Zimmer like a script and storyboards and all this stuff, he just gave him like one page and is like, this is it, like described the feeling of the movie.
Okay.
And so then he does all this stuff. And what's really interesting is that because Interstellar is all about like time and stuff like that, I read that he did most of the tracks at 1 beat per second to like signal the time that's going by, like especially in when they're on a planet where time passes faster, like it like incorporates like this ticking as you go. It's really neat. It's really neat. And this is one, oh my gosh, this is probably my most played album on Spotify. Like if I'm just sitting working, like this is what I'm putting on. I love this score so much. It's this one. When I was first building this list, I was like, oh yeah, this is my number one. Like I listen to this all the time. And then as I was kind of like re-listening and I went back to my number 2 and started listening and I was like, I think I gotta swap it. But this one, like it really is. Have you watched this movie yet, Charlie?
Is that you say you're ready for my number 1? Is that what you said?
Come on, man.
Is that what you said?
You have access to it now. You have access.
I thought it wasn't. I think it was on Paramount. We had like a free trial and I missed it, and I don't think it's on anything I have.
You purposely missed it, you jerk.
I didn't mean to. I thought I missed it. It was an accident, like your Hulu subscription accident.
All right. Well, I'm gonna find out a way for you to watch this, Charlie. Doggone it.
All right.
Been talking about this movie for 2 years on this podcast, and but you could then you can also listen to the score and you can be like, oh, pretty neat.
Now
it's a good one. It's a good one.
That's interesting. You think he would pick a composer who had a style that kind of fit what he had in mind? Hey, Hans Zimmer, you're a very well established composer with a huge long track record of doing this thing. Don't do any of that. That's great. So, hey, Danny Elfman, we love you. Can you do something that's not dark and has no oompa, 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 oompa?
I know.
All right.
I think they're friends because he's done all his other scores. I think the only one he didn't do, one that he didn't do. Oh, Zimmer didn't do Tenet, but I think Zimmer done pretty much all his other stuff. Yeah. Not his early stuff.
They had a fight. They were arguing.
Yeah, he's probably busy something else. A lot.
Yeah.
Probably making a DC score or something like that.
Yeah.
Poor guy. All right, moving on to number 1.
Number 1. Not hard to guess.
Can I predict?
Yeah.
Did you select a single movie or did you select?
I did. I didn't cheat. I've got it because there was a reason why I cheated. Because all the music for the Lord of the Rings stuff is really intertwined with like payoffs and stuff like that. Because the story is one story. Whereas I feel like, look, spoiler alert, I picked one of the 3 original Star Wars, and that's like, and sure, it's one story, but it's not the same. It's broken up.
I think you chose A New Hope.
Well, let's see. Click that button.
Oh, well.
No way. A New Hope. Come on, get out of here with that nonsense.
You love A New Hope. You love A New Hope more than you love Empire Strikes Back.
No, I say if I could only watch one movie, and then I have to stop, I'd rather watch A New Hope, so I'm not like left feeling sad and hollow inside, watching Luke with his one hand floating off in space, kind of going like, well, we're screwed. It's a sad ending. But like the first movie has just a fantastic soundtrack, but we get 3 new themes, and they're all glorious. We get Yoda's theme, we get the love theme for Han and Leia, and of course the most important new theme. We get the Imperial March. Now, this theme has been played and heard so many times. This might win you a bar bet. That this wasn't in the first Star Wars movie.
It wasn't.
This was introduced in Empire, right? In the first Star Wars movie, Williams is doing just some like low menacing chords and stuff. And then now Darth Vader. And look, to be fair, he's much more menacing in the second movie. You got kind of like they realized, okay, we got something here, and this is like, a character that's scary and so he gets his bum 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 bum, and just the rhythmic stuff that's going on underneath that melody. Oh, it is my favorite. Look, the Luke melody, which is commonly known as the main theme, but it is Luke's melody. That's fantastic, and we still get it. It's still there.
It is.
We still get all the goodies from the first one, but we get the new introduction of these three wonderful themes. Gosh, they're all just so great, and the way that Williams just kind of wraps the characters, in these different. It's like what we were talking about when you can kind of listen to it, and you can picture the movie.
Yeah.
Just so great. The transitions and just, God, he's the GOAT. The greatest of all time, Brody. Yes. You're familiar with. All the kids are saying the GOAT these days.
And I'll go ahead and throw mine because mine is the same one.
Oh, hey, there we go.
Because everything that you said, the new themes that are introduced are so good. Even stuff like the asteroid field, where the Millennium Falcon's flying around, like has become like the iconic like Star Wars flying music. Like you go into Star Tours and you're hearing like the asteroid fields. It's so good. As I was re-listening when I was like, oh, do I want Interstellar or Star Wars as my number one? And I was like, I can't. This is the best. This is the best score ever. It really
it's really good.
Is.
It's so good. We'll have to do we got to do like a spotlight on John Williams episode. We talk nothing but John Williams because he has just some of the most iconic film scores. So glorious.
He does. Yeah, I think. And like even going through just the Star Wars, because I had a feeling that a Star Wars was gonna wind up on yours. I thought maybe A New Hope, just because it kind of set everything up.
Sure. Wait, like the Cantina theme, by the way, that was hard for me because that's such a good, like that little jazz. It's so good. That thing gets stuck in my head on like a loop. Just I'm walking around, da 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 da, just wandering around in a loop. Man, that is so good.
Jedi Return of the Jedi has kind of that really, really neat one where Luke and Vader are fighting at the end when you get like the vocals, even something like Phantom Menace where you get Duel of the Fates, like they're all so good. They're all so good. But you kind of land on this one and you're like, oh, so this is where the love theme comes in. This is where Yoda's theme comes in. This is where the Imperial March comes in. You're like, yeah.
What do you do?
Kind of an easy. Did you have anything else to add onto the Empire Strikes Back?
No, I just say that I think that there was on all the like the whole production of that movie had a lot of pressure on it, and you just think about like the Star Wars craze as it exploded. Now look, I know Brody and I seem very old, but this was even before our time when the first Star Wars movie was released, and we were, by the time the third one, we're too young to understand any of this. But the pressure, I was reading about like, after the first one exploded and it was a huge hit, and the toys are exploding and the soundtrack's great, but what are we going to do for a follow up here? And for them to put out this masterpiece of a film with like this masterpiece of a soundtrack, Jedi's pretty good. Jedi's pretty good, but man, Empire. Whew.
So good.
They could have closed a little better. But
I had read that when Williams was talking about when he was recording the score for Empire, that they had to do it like really quickly. And so I think he talked about like they were like really long sessions where they were recording. And so it's wild that this is as good as it is when it seemed like they were kind of getting rushed through everything.
Yeah.
All right.
You can find like I'll say one last thing here real quick and then you can wrap, but you could pause this video or just wait till it's done and you can go on YouTube and you can search out like John Williams in like a composition session, and he's like at the piano, and he's just kind of playing and talking, and it's just like really. Maybe he's doing that with Steven Spielberg, and they're kind of doing like this for E.T. And he's just kind of like playing the E.T. theme, and they're kind of talking, and he's like, and and Spielberg's like, well, what about doing this and this, and he's just like playing. It is just like jaw-dropping, interesting stuff to watch, like these two geniuses in a room, just kind of talking through the score and watching Williams process and him compose. So do yourself, if this subject interests you at all, just search out like Spielberg, Williams, E.T. and watch that video. You'll thank me later.
Yeah, and Williams, I love that Williams is the conductor as well. I don't think that's something that we see too much of these days. I think you have the people that write it, and then you kind of have conductors come in and play it all out. But to see Williams like write all this stuff, and then he's right in there conducting the orchestra. Oh gosh, it's so good. It's so good to just watch him work. Did you have any honorable mentions that didn't make it on your list?
I had like The Mission and The Godfather, Out of Africa. There's like a lot of so many great, like Gladiator was a fun score. I like there's a lot of really good a lot of good ones. I could probably rattle off like 15, but you said you had a specific list. Go ahead, give us your list.
I had, so the ones that I didn't have, I had Man of Steel from Zimmer. I really like the Man of Steel one. It was really hard for me to not put an Elfman on my list.
Yeah.
And I had Big Fish.
Edward Scissorhands is. Woof,
Edward Scissorhands really good. Big Fish might be my favorite of his.
It's really good.
It's a like, yeah, it's so good. Batman, obviously, but Batman I think kind of falls into like a really strong theme, and the rest of the album is good, but like really like the focus is on the theme.
The theme. Yeah.
Every John Williams. I mean, Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, Superman, like everything that he's done could have made the list.
Schindler's List is just so beautiful. My goodness.
Schindler's List. I had the Lord of the Rings. I couldn't decide which one. Even like Avengers Endgame from Silvestri, I had on there. I like Endgame more than the others because I felt like Endgame, they really kind of stepped up with the Avengers theme, where kind of in the other movies it felt like it was kind of in the background. And then No Way Home and Star Trek from Giacchino. Like Giacchino, I really like Giacchino's stuff too. I think I really enjoy listening to his stuff as well. I feel like he's kind of got a little bit of like some Williams to him. I mean, he's picked up because he did what was the Star Wars? He did one of the Star Wars. What was the spy one that took place? Rogue One. Thank you. He did Rogue One, so he kind of picked up on that. He did the like Jurassic World stuff, so he kind of picked up on that. And so it's I really enjoy his stuff as well. But all this stuff, I love movie scores, Charlie. I love them.
Yeah, you do. I do too.
This could have been a top 10, like the old days where we talk for an hour and a half on one top 10. I was like, I'm gonna call Charlie. I'm changing it to a top 10, but.
Well, look, the music is such an important part, and I've really come full circle on this because I had a lot of old man yelling at cloud moments when just because I get irritated with these blockbuster movies that just didn't have like these themes. Like why am I watching an Avengers movie that doesn't have like themes for each character that are like woven throughout, and like these what we got just this one Avengers theme that they kind of reused this one melody, and everything's so minimalist, and I hate it, and I'm grumpy. Stop throwing percussion out there and just calling it a score. But I've come full circle, and I appreciate all that stuff now. I'm back on board with a lot of really good, talented film composers out there doing it on their laptop with a synth keyboard, making it happen. Right. Love it.
Wild. Cool. All right. Well, if you don't have anything else to add,
let's wrap it. All right. Look, as always, we love hearing from you guys. Let us know if you have some favorite soundtracks, some favorite scores. Alan Menken is a glorious composer. I thought about putting Beauty Beast on here, or any Alan Menken stuff. So tell us some of your favorite film composers, some of your favorite soundtracks and favorite scores. We love talking about this stuff. If this interests you at all, we could geek out with me. Come on, let's talk some music. Otherwise, make sure you check out our content below, which is largely soundtrack and score free. And we get plenty of other good movie talk. Click the like and subscribe below the beard, and we'll see you next time.
Later.